Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining me again in room Straight Talk in room 503. We're so glad that you are back to join us this week. Lots of things are going on in public education that we need to deal with. We're going to cut this class period short. I don't want to lengthen it out and bore you. I just want to bring you nothing but the raw facts. But we're glad that you're joining us again. As I normally do, I normally start out in my hometown. And then I'll tell you that the same thing that is going on in my hometown is going on across this nation here. So when I say Jackson, you say New York. When I say Jackson, you say New Jersey. When I say Jackson, you say California. Because the very same thing is going on in public education. People everywhere, in every city, in every state, are getting to the point that they're removing their kids from public education, carrying their students over to charter schools and to academies and magnet schools and to private schools, and leaving behind a decaying public education system. And it doesn't seem that a whole lot of people are paying attention to it. We got a lot of people who we will think that cares about our kids, and you see them all the time on the street, and they say, I love children. I care about the future generation. I care about what happened to our young people. But in actual reality, the bottom line is they're lying. Because if you're telling the truth and you genuine care, you're going to show it in your everyday talk. You're going to show it in your everyday walk. You're going to show up at meetings. You're going to call superintendents. You're going to read about what's going on in public education. And when you're playing cards, you're going to be talking about how to improve public education. When you go to your sororities and fraternity meetings, you're going to be having them on the agenda. Let's talk about our children. What do we need to do to save them? We see them at church and we smile. Oh, isn't he cute? Isn't that a beautiful outfit? But we are just fooling ourselves, because if we really care about people like we want God to care about us, you would get up off your rusty dusty and you would join me in room 503, and across this country you will begin to raise questions about why public education is getting a raw deal, and the kids who are going to be running this country are in private schools and public schools, not public schools, they're in private schools, academies across this country. Unless your child is serious about getting an education, they're going to find themselves working in McDonald's, Burger King, the fast food joints. They're not going to be on Main Street, Wall Street, corporate America, running this great country. They're going to be on minimum wage for a long, long time to come. So that is why the people who are in public education have removed their child from public education, because they understand the importance of education. Even though I came from a poor background, my parents, who was very poor and did not have an opportunity to finish school, they encouraged their 5 children to get an education. Every last one of us, and I'm not bragging, I'm blessed, and my sisters are blessed. But they went on to get college degrees and went on to become professors and teachers and accountants and administrators. That's not to say that every job is not important. If it's honest, it's important. But ladies and gentlemen, we don't have to struggle and go it on like we are now. But we have allowed our politicians, we have allowed our elected officials to just simply leave us hanging. While in my hometown, I've been attending all of the meetings. My question is, where are the politicians now? They're out there getting your vote and you're voting for them. You stood in lines and voted for your politician. And he has left public education. He's not said anything about public, because his children attend in private school. His friends and neighbors' kids attend in private school. The heck with public school. Ladies and gentlemen, don't you see it's decaying right before your eyes and nothing is happening? Where are the ministers? I grew up in a time when the church was a lighthouse of the community. Churches across this country, in your city as well, has turned the lights out. They're not even meeting. They just show up on Sunday and maybe on Bible class days. And they're not doing a whole lot of marrying, because we're now a nation that believe in same-sex marriage, and it's going to hell in a handbasket. So we got to become serious about public education. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to come back in the last session, and I'm going to give you my opinion on what one of the ingredients that I think is missing for public education is taking a hard hit. Thank you so much. Stay with me. I'll get you out of this class and get you on back to your business. Thank you very much. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming back and joining me again as we wrap up Straight Talk in room 503. You know, I'm just looking at our local paper. It's loaded down with what's going on in public education, but I don't see a whole lot that is going on to improve public education. I trust that you can appreciate the fact that I'm being straightforward. That's the reason we call it Straight Talk in Room 503. I think we've had enough sugarcoating in public education to last us for a lifetime. But it's time that we have able-bodied, strong individuals, males and females, black and white, rich and poor, to stand up and begin to take a real stand and take a serious look at public education and take a serious stand at public education. Otherwise, 1 to 2 years from now, we won't be able to assist public education in coming back there. It'll be just like Humpty Dumpty, who sat on the wall and had a great fall. And all the king horses, all the king men never could put Humpty Dumpty back together. Public education can reach a point where it will be very difficult to put public education back now. So the question is, what can I do now? What are we overlooking? What can we do to improve public education? Because I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, that in my hometown, over 2,000 students has already left and went on to private schools. And it's happening in Chicago. Check your Google Chicago public education system. New Jersey, California, Texas, and put in public education. The same thing is happening. Kids are getting up and going to private schools. We have school board members in my hometown and your hometown. Their students, their are in private schools. Elected officials, their students are not, or their child is not in public education, ladies and gentlemen. If you think that I'm lying, when you meet him at the grocery store and says, how's your child doing in public education? And he's going to look at you like you lost your mind, because those kids have left. Only those who can't afford to go to public education is left behind. The teachers who they have pulled out and put into those academies, put into those magnet schools, they're gone. They're leaving some great teachers behind. But a lot of the teachers that are left behind has also given up on public education. They just drawing a paycheck and waiting for retirement to kick in. So the last thing I want to talk with you about is I believe that we're leaving out the main ingredients when it comes to what's good for public education. Well, who would that be? That would be the students. I have attended board meetings across this country, and what's missing in that boardroom is a student or some students. They are left behind. It's as if they're to be seen and not heard. I believe that the students who are in school for those 180 days, year after year after year, I think they know what's going on in public education. I can go into the schools across the country, in your hometown as well, and say, who are the bad teachers here in your school? The principal will say, I really don't know. I can say, well, can I have your student body in the gym? Students, would you raise your hand if you can tell me who are the bad teachers in this school? And guess what? The students would raise their hand. They know Miss Jones, Mr. Tucker, Mr. Jones, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so. They know him. The principal is lying. He is the one that gives the evaluation every year. But he just go through the motion. I just go it on and give them 5 so that they can go it on. I don't want to have no problem. I don't want to do all that paperwork and appear before the board. But I believe that if we had students who was elected by their peers, because they know who the good students are as well, and those students would show up in the boardroom, they would not have the ability to vote, but they would have a voice. I believe if we begin to listen to our students, that they can tell you what we need to do to make this system better. They're there every day, just like the teachers, just like the principal. I just believe that we should allow students to be represented on school boards across this country, and let's hear them. Not every one of them is going to give the suggestion or recommendation that we buy, but I just believe that some of the things that the students who are there every day, they know the textbooks that's not working. They know the teachers that's not working. They know the administrators that are not administrating and running the school. They know, ladies and gentlemen, I am surprised that they even know what's going on with superintendent. I see them all the time, and they say, isn't he or isn't she the reason we're having all of these problems? They know what the problems are. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm out there every week and every day, and I'll be out there again next week. And I do not see the elected officials. I don't see your pastor. And you don't see him either until he run into you Sunday morning or Wednesday night. So, ladies and gentlemen, we got to quit playing games with the politician. We got to take it serious when it comes to our children. Churches should be having meetings during the week where we're talking about it. But now we're talking about save the schools. What about save the students? We got it backwards. That's just mortar, brick and mortar. It's what goes in those schools. That is why that in private schools, they don't go, you never heard of private schools that save the school. They go out there and get the best teachers, the best administrators, the best headmasters, the best technology, put on banquets, raise money. Ladies and gentlemen, look across your city and look at the private schools. Then take a look at the rundown public school system, and we pay mega bucks from the maintenance department to keep them up and they're run down. Ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't get it this week, perhaps you're not going to ever get it. I'm telling you the truth week after week. It's up to you to decide. It's time for me to get busy. How am I going to make it into the kingdom of heaven when God said, what you do to the least of thee, you've done none to me. You're doing some bad things to the Lord Jesus Christ. Ask yourself that question. Check your conscience out. Thank you again. The clock on the wall says it's time to go. We got to get out of here. Students, we're so glad to see you again in the class. I trust that you will make your way back next week. Call a friend, tell a friend that Morris Merriweather is addressing public education. He has a book out called Enough is Enough. You can go to my website, www.morrismerriweather.com. Go to Amazon, Books A Million. You can go in my hometown to Brooks's Bond, something to read about, or you can contact me and I'll make sure you get one in your hand. Ladies and gentlemen, it's just important. The clock on the wall said it's time to go, but also the clock on the wall said public education at an all-time low. Thank you very much. I've been your host, Morris Merriweather, and I'll see you again next week. Call a friend, tell a friend. We'll be back here next week. Thank you very much. We'll talk then.